Reusse Unchained, presented by Josh Arnold, investment consultant, Mr. Money Talk. So, Pat, the schedule experts are
Yes.
saying that the Vikings have one of the 5 hardest schedules of any team in the NFL on paper right now. A lot of noon games, not much primetime love, and a disproportionate amount of road games early or non-home games early. So strap
And
in.
is London? They're giving up a home game for London. Is that our home game?
That's
And
correct.
we've done that in the past. That seems to be the new way of the NFL. Though they're up to 5 international games, and it might be bored. It might be everybody might be playing one in a couple of years, right? I
Well, now
think
we're
the
in
most
Brazil or in London or everywhere now.
I think the most interesting thing is we now got Netflix involved. They're going to have 2 games on Christmas Day, and you guys pointed this out yesterday. We were all whining last year because Peacock had a game. Strap in, folks. You're going to, every streaming service in America is going to have a game here within 2-3 years, paying millions for the privilege. So
We
it's
should bring back Versus and make it a paid streaming platform.
yes, yes.
The outdoor network.
Yes, maybe the Twins could get on one of some network that streams Viking games on any kind of NFL games, then they'd be fine. But yeah, it's the Gophers football team last year at the start of the season had the second toughest schedule in the country, and it ended up being 38th or 40th. As the teams came along, so I'm saying the NFL is obviously more predictable than college football, but the fact that it's rated one of the top 5 toughest now. Is this based on the premise the Bears are going to be okay because they have Caleb Williams now, or is it based
Well,
on the Bears being the Bears?
I mean,
You
if you
know?
look at we're gonna do a full breakdown, full on
Oh
Purple
yes,
Daily today, but they if you look at there's a couple things that I think factor in. Well, there's there you play some hard teams like the Niners, Houston, at Green Bay
yes,
early. You only play 4 true home games before December 1st.
yeah. That's weird. And then they play. Then they go into January now. The last Sunday and first Sunday in January is the last day of the season, and we have 4 home games between uh, that and December January 5th, right? Like 5 weeks. There's 4 home games,
Yeah.
so it's weird to
Do
say
you
the least.
recall, Patrick, a back-to-back 3-3? So like either they're on the road for 3 in
Yes.
November, and then they immediately turn around in December and play 3 at home. I don't recall ever having homestands and road trips that long consecutively.
Does the London game does the London game have anything to do with that or not? No, it doesn't, right?
No, I
It's
mean they could have mixed it up. It's weird because they go at Jaguars, at Titans, at Bears, and that ends November, and then they have versus Cardinals, Falcons, and Bears.
here's the good part though. They don't have a Lambeau game right late in December.
No.
They don't have a they get to play the Packers here now that instead of in Lambeau. So that's good. I don't know. The schedule is the NFL is gonna do what they do. They have a formula. They have a formula for who plays who, but they somehow they end up with the Chiefs and the Ravens on the opening night. So I don't know. I don't know how it works, but it is probably though because they only play 17 games. Every other sport you pretty much it's pretty legitimate who ends up in the playoffs, right? And who doesn't, because you're playing either 162 or 82 games. NFL a lot of it can do to the schedule. A lot of it can go to you end up 4 teams 9-8, and you win up the tiebreaker, and you got a team that's the 21st best team in the league playing in the playoffs. So sometimes it just works out that way. It's not with 17 games. It's plenty of games, but it's also not really legitimate the way the schedule's done in some cases.
Yeah, well, we also we've been chomping at the bit here for months and months for that Giants revenge game. So we do get the week. It's like the back in the day, the Falcons, was it early in the season or week 1 the next year after the 98 championship?
Oh
You
yeah,
always,
yeah. We went down there, and we're very good at losing big games and getting our revenge. Sid celebrated that win over the Chiefs in 1970 to open the season that made up for the Super Bowl loss in the local papers. That we showed that we were better than the Chiefs in the season opener because they kicked the hell out of them after going to the Super Bowl. So
Yeah.
and getting embarrassed. So we're great at the next year revenge game
when it doesn't
after
matter
choking.
nearly as much.
Yeah. By the
After
way,
40,
the Vikings always play at Seattle. It feels like every year,
yes,
sometimes
yes, it
twice.
does.
It's crazy. Can it ever just be in like September, October when it's the most beautiful weather in the country? It always has to be on December 22nd or
Yes,
December 6th in Seattle when it's windy
yes,
and
it's
raining.
rainy. That's being a former Seattle resident. That's about when the rainy season starts, isn't it?
Former?
November, December.
You're
Yeah.
back?
It's become a running joke that I've been back for like a year and a half now,
Yes,
and a
right.
lot of people in the local media and PR like,
Still think you're in
how's Phil doing
Seattle.
out there in Seattle? It's great. You've seen him. You've seen him 5 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of our most failed bits that we tried on the the Ride with Ricey show was when the baseball schedule came out. We tried to, like everybody picks the football schedule, we tried to pick a baseball schedule out, and we would do like, okay, they're going then. And then we'd take a break, and then when we came back, we'd be talking about some series like a month later. Then I think they're going to win 2 out of 3, and then I don't think the people. I don't think I thought it was funny, but I don't think the public got into it.
It's like when Randy in Cottage Grove would do all 256 draft picks in a mock draft. We would just fade him down, come back in like a half hour.
Is
The 5th
is
round.
Randy back for next season?
Well, Randy did take a shot at his 7-round Vikings mock a few weeks ago and came up
How'd he
pretty
do?
empty. He came up pretty
Really?
empty. Yeah.
Wow. Well,
So we'll see if he's always welcome on the show during the season for his stud and
Okay.
dud stables.
Well, I do not buy the idea that what's the over and under on him? 7?
7.5 now. It was
7.5.
6.5.
7.5. I don't buy that. I don't think they're marginally. I don't think they're worse than they were last season. The idea that they're the same team they were last season, I don't buy that at all. I think that they're going to be just as good at quarterback, especially with him. He got hurt, and they've improved immensely on defense, in my opinion. So
Yes.
I think they're a 9-10 squeezed into the playoffs team. I think so.
Gonna hang on for dear life early, and then once you start playing the Arizonas, the Kirk revenge game on December 8th.
I think. Don't you think the biggest disappointment about the new stadium though has been it hasn't really, I mean, what were they last year? 3-5, well, 3-5 at home, or was
They
it
lost a
2
bunch of
6?
home games. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
also
I
putting
mean,
Nick Mullins out there at US
yeah,
Bank
but they
Stadium.
haven't. But it hasn't been the. I think the Metrodome was harder to play in than this place. You get your skull and your whole deal, but the fans are back there. They're stuck someplace. The Metrodome, they were right on top of you.
And it also, ticket prices have definitely
Oh,
increased.
yes.
I think we might have priced out the really blue collar
Yeah,
people that
yeah.
made a lot of noise and got really wasted because beers are expensive.
That was the problem for the first 2 home games for the Wolves in the series, where it was especially game 3, it was a little subdued because the get-in price was like $500. Well, tonight, people have given up. Tonight for game 6, the get-in price is like $60.
Really,
Folks, it's game 6.
Yeah.
It's the
Raise
Nuggets.
hell.
It's like, what are we? But that will allow more people, maybe more of the blue collar, true fans to come in tonight to Target
Is
Center.
anybody still confident? Anybody still confident?
Have you met Phil
Me-
Mackey?
Me
Yeah.
and
Looks
what's
like
his name?
Declan is.
Kendrick Perkins and Declan.
Yeah.
Kendrick Perkins,
Well,
Declan,
what
and
if
Phil.
I mean if Conley doesn't play, I don't know what you do. I mean, it is amazing though that people are all off the. I guess they're trained. I guess they're trained for Wolves' disappointment. Huh? Is that it?
I mean, yes, but
what-
I think what did the game 2 threw the algorithm off here. It's
Yes.
the flow of the series that game 2 everyone thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy, and really it was just like Denver's worst performance in probably 3 years.
Yes.
If game 2 didn't happen the way that it did, if it was more of a close game and every game kind of felt like it could go either way, but because the Wolves did what they did in game 2 and then Denver came back, it feels like Denver broke the Wolves and there's no coming back from it. But these two
Game
teams are like even par the last 20 matchups against each other.
The game 4 was the one that would have rattled me if I was a hardcore fan, though, because I mean, Cat had a lousy game, but they played good, and they had no chance. They got hammered. The fourth quarter they were cooked by the fourth quarter, and the Wolves played good. Game 3 didn't bother me as much because they no showed, and just like Denver no showed for game 2, but you know, and now they're banged up, and I I don't know, and you know what, Malone, crazy as he is, he coached them up. He came
He's
up with
good.
some ideas,
Yeah.
man.
He's
He
incredible.
came up
Yeah.
with stuff. They, he was here. They really liked him when he was here for a brief time. Didn't he serve as somebody was sick for a couple of, didn't he coach a couple of games here during that time when he was here?
Flip
Maybe I'm wrong.
mentored him. I know that. I don't remember if he
Yeah,
was on the
yeah.
staff.
But I mean, their adjustments have been fantastic. I've thought, and we're finding out. I was talking to Chip yesterday about this, Jokic, and is this good for the NBA that we're going to have 10 of these Blutos coming over here from the Slavic countries?
You're not going to find
10
10 guys that can
No,
do this,
not as
though. They're just
good,
going to
but
be
you're gonna.
Blutos.
Every team's gonna. 10, 12 teams are gonna be starting one of these monsters. They're not gonna be as good as Jokic, but all of a sudden the game's gonna be some 7'1", 300-pounder waddling down the court and pushing everybody out of the way. Not as they won't pass like Jokic, but everybody's gonna have one of these guys.
Let me
'Cause
through.
So it's
they
funny. So you're
care
saying
about.
you're saying that like 10 years ago, Steph Curry created all of these kids who would shoot
Yes,
logo
right.
threes at
Yes,
AAU, right?
yes,
Then we're
right.
gonna have a bunch of Blutos who are beefing up to 300 pounds,
Pounding ice cream.
Yes.
Young kids pounding ice
elbowing their
cream.
way through the paint.
Yugoslavia loved basketball. There's 6 countries now they made out of Yugoslavia, right? And but they're all producing. Every kid over there now, whose dad is a 6'10", 350-pound farmer. Every 6-year-old kid of his is going to turn to grow up to be a monster. Is now playing basketball, and we're gonna. Every center is going to be a big lug like this. There's not going to be any centers that can run up and down the court anymore. They're all going to come and waddling up the court, dribbling and running through people.
It
He's
is,
got
man.
two. Judd told me he's got 2 brothers that are up in the suite up there that could clean out every bar in
Oh, Phil saw
downtown
one.
Minneapolis in 5 minutes.
He
Yeah,
was
well,
across the
yeah.
court. He was across the court in a suite, and he was so big that he cast a shadow in the suite.
He did. It was like it was like the Batman silhouette on top of
Yeah,
Gotham City Target Center.
yeah. I mean, Europe is producing more big men than we got the 7'5" guy from San Antonio. I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know.
what do you
give
find
me
more
give me
infuriating when you're watching your team and the opponent has Steph Curry hitting a 40-foot three with a hand in his face at the end of the shot clock, or Jokic throwing a ball up over his head, banking it in, and then getting an and one? What's the worst way to die as a basketball team?
definitely Jokic. I mean, who's Steph making 32 footers was fantastic. It was wonderful. I've always loved the shooter, and yeah, this is. I mean, I'm not. I mean, this guy's okay. I go along with everything everybody's saying about him, but there's more coming. That's what I don't like.
Yeah.
There's more of these oafs coming, and that changes the game radically from what we. I mean, the other thing that everybody, the middies coming back, isn't it? The with a lot of
Yep.
teams, the middle jumpers coming back, which
Anthony
is,
Edwards is doing it. Yeah, Jokic obviously. Yeah.
and it's kind of I think it's a reflection of having this enormous center. Is somehow you gotta try to get the big oaf to move out of the spot down there.
The
So I mean,
invasion of the oafs. I
oh,
can
it
see it
is.
now. They're just
The
all
oaf.
coming.
Right
It's Rudy
now.
Gobert's worst nightmare. Just
Yeah.
God.
Now, maybe if Trump gets elected, and I'm not in favor of that, but he's going to cut down on the immigration, right? So maybe we won't be getting these big oafs out here anymore.
We'll
Is
So
stop
that
them.
maybe,
is
yeah,
that the
maybe,
plan?
We'll
maybe
stop them
we
at the
won't be,
border.
maybe we won't be able.
No, Mr. Oaf.
Build a
Not
wall
worry.
so no more Jokic's are
Let's
in the
not worry
NBA.
about. Let's not worry about cutting off the Hispanic guys who come to town and work their rear ends off and might be illegal. They're fine. Let's cut off the Yugoslavian centers. We should not let them immigrate in massives. Maybe two a year is the max. Okay, something like that.
So
That would
so
be a
do
radical thing. But we got to stop this. We can't have every team.
You should run, Pat. Run on the Oaf platform.
Yes, right. Anti-oafs. God Almighty, it's right. I was thinking about this yesterday. What are we gonna do if like 12 teams have one of these? The game will not be familiar to what we've watched our whole lives at all. So,
hey, quick Twins note before we wrap here. I think it was our guy Brad Carlson on Twitter, and I don't have the tweet in front of me, but the Twins have officially now played 162 games against the Yankees over the last however many years. And I think he had their record as 42 and 120. So
Yep.
so is that's worse than the Mets? The Mets
That's what was the Mets were 40. They got rained out twice, so they
okay.
were 40. I think they got rained out.
I'll
They were
find it. Yeah,
40 and I
62.
think they were 40 and 120. The Mets were 40 and 120.
So it's right around that range for the
Yeah,
worst
40 and
performance
120.
in a.
I hate to say this, but I want Mock back because he's dead. But he would have fined Willie Castro instead of expressed sympathy for him after two straight games with bonehead, lackadaisical, idiotic plays. First of all, the lollygag throw the other night on the ball that he stopped and didn't run in and try to catch because he lost it in the sun. And then last night, not knowing how many outs is, instead of saying, "Oh, he was really disappointed." No bleep. He's an idiot. Okay, let's be announcing back in the day it was $100. Let's be announcing a $10,000 fine for him, not knowing how many outs there were. How about that?
No
Let's
Willie
stop.
Castro in the clubhouse yesterday either. Very weird. He was
What?
not there to answer questions. Willie Castro ducked out right after. Did not stick around for
Oh,
post
he was
game
very
questions.
disappointed though. He threw the ball up in the stands and then he ran up the tunnel. You did it yesterday too, you moron.
Why was he
know?
back out in center field is the question.
Yes. No, he can't be playing today, can he?
Margot is in center today.
Who is?
Margot.
Oh God, he's not a lot better, but at least he
Well,
knows how many.
he'll remember
outs
the
there-
outs.
He knows how many outs there are. So yeah, I mean, this express, you know, and Rocco does it about twice a year, but it's time for the manager to express disgust, not sympathy, when something like that. And who knows what happens behind closed doors? But there's nothing wrong with a little public ridicule from a manager. That's You see, Ron Washington got in trouble for ripping one of his players for not getting a sacrifice bunt down. So
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Sounds perfect. Yeah.
yeah, modern. Come on. The guy's plus now the judge double over his head. I guess that was probably uncatchable, huh? Although
Yes.
he did stand in his tracks, but man alive, what a 2-game series! What 2 games in a row has he had in center field? Brutal.
Yeah, so I think we thought Margot was brought in to play more. Not that he's a great center fielder, but that part of the reason he was brought in was to play more center field if Buxton couldn't, but they've
I
had Castro
talked,
out there. So
I talked to Mark Gonzalez when the trade was made, down at Tampa Bay, and not Gonzalez, Mark Topkin, and Topper said that he had a bad year defensively last year. He played really well in the field before that, but he did not play nearly as well defensively last year. So I don't. But you got to do something. You can't let Castro go out there again after that. So.
If we don't get a recollection of Norwood and Disco Dan column soon, I'm going to be very disappointed. This just opens the door to the Twins historian in this town to recount the mock story.
Willie the wallbanger was poor Willie. It was opening day. Remember opening day way back when he let the ball go through. They had a big crowd. And they let the ball go through his legs for like 3-4 bases, and the crowd, instead of booing, they laughed. Everybody laughed because Willie had made another play. So, there's a great mock story about Sofield screwing up a ball in center field, but I can't tell it. It's not for polite company. But that one. So
it's fair enough.
Anyway, but this is, you can't allow this, for God's sakes. You can't allow a guy not to know how many outs there are one day after he tosses the ball in like a moron and lets somebody have an extra base. So
yeah, that's fair. Well, Pat, enjoy the sports evening here. Twins Yankees today, and then Game 6, Wolves in 7, or Wolves in 2025. Whatever.
Hang in there, Phil. It's I say if they lose, if they get wiped out here in 6 games, Cat gets traded. That's my prediction.
I think you're
That's a good one.
Probably right. We can have those speculative conversations.
Write that down. That's at least a double, isn't it? Write that down.
I beat you to it yesterday. Let's just say that. Right. I beat you to it.
Okay.
All right. There he is. Reusse Unchained, presented by Josh Arnold.